In this video, we're gonna go over 5 tips to help you pass your Florida real estate exam on the first try. Let's dive right into the video. Passing the Florida real estate exam on the first try is hard, but it is important to do it on the first try because many people fail over and over again and then they give up altogether. So in this video, my goal is to help increase your odds of you passing the exam and get you passed on the very first try. So before we get started, I want to give you our free how to get started and get your real estate license career guide. Everything in this video plus more is inside that guide. So click the link down below and get your copy today. So the very first thing I want to cover in this video is what to expect. Many people go into this and they just don't know what to expect on the real estate exam. And many people wonder if it's hard, if it's easy, if they're going to be able to pass this with not much effort, or if they're going to have to really study hard and make a real try at this in order to have success. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the real estate exam itself. Now, the Florida real estate exam has 100 questions and you have about 2.5 hours to complete the exam. So this might sound kind of easy, but keep in mind, you're going to be quizzed on things from real estate math, appraisal, how properties are valued, real estate law, agency law. So there's a lot of things that go into this. So studying hard is very important because you're going to have to know a lot about a lot of different things in order to successfully pass this exam. Now, to pass the exam, you have to get a 75% score or higher in the state of Florida. And before you could even take this test, you have to complete 63 hours of state-approved pre-licensed education classes. Yes, I know 63 hours is a lot of time to sit in a classroom, especially if you have a full-time job or other obligations that just make you busy throughout the day. So sitting in a classroom might be tough. So what I would highly suggest is you find a real estate school that you can work at your own pace, and you could do these online. So I highly suggest you check out Calibri Real Estate School because they have real estate classes online in Florida and they're reputable, they do a good job, and oftentimes they have different discounts and sales on the real estate classes themselves. So if you're going to do the classes online, just make sure you pick a reputable school, one that is state approved by Florida, and one that is going to give you the information you need to pass the test. Once you complete your 63 hours of state approved classes, it's time to get into study mode. Now, studying is really important, but many people skip this step and they go straight into their exam. And this is a big mistake because the exam is quite comprehensive. They may have studied a lot during real estate school, but studying extra after you finish just so you can be refreshed and ready to really give yourself the best chances to pass this exam is super important. So I want to give you a couple tips on how to time block and manage your time while you're doing your busy schedule that you have day to day in your normal life, so you have higher chances of actually passing this the first try. The very first thing is time blocking. So we use time blocking in real estate in the actual field to time block certain things throughout the day so our day doesn't run away from us. Now you could do the same thing when you start studying for your real estate exam. What I would suggest is you time block 1 to 2 hours each day, 5 days a week. Give yourself the weekends off or give yourself 2 days off depending on which days you want to take off, and then spend the rest of the time, an hour or two a day, studying different concepts, going through textbooks, watching different things, YouTube videos, tutorials, and just getting yourself really familiar with the content so that you can walk into the exam on test day and be super confident. Now, I would suggest you do this for about 2 weeks before you actually schedule your exam. And if you still don't feel comfortable, with the content, then I would suggest you do it a little bit longer. Now, don't procrastinate and wait so long to take the exam that you never take it. I've run into people like that too, and they just get so nervous that they're going to fail the exam that they never give themselves a chance to actually take the exam. So don't be one of those people, but give yourself enough time to retain the information and give yourself the best chance of passing. Keep in mind, this is a closed book exam, so everything that you study and all the material that you go through, you want to make sure that you're putting yourself through quizzes so you retain that information, because you're not going to be able to bring anything into the testing center on test day. All you could bring is a basic non-scientific calculator and a pencil to fill out the questions during the exam. So once you're in the exam on test day, you're kind of on your own. You have no book to reference, nothing to go back and check. you're kind of stuck. So make sure you really study hard and get that knowledge retained. Number 3 is taking advantage of study aids and prep tools. So this is one of the biggest hacks that I've come across. And when I passed my exam, I used these tools heavily because I did not like reading textbooks. I found it boring. Sitting in a room and reading through text over and over again day by day just was not doing it for me. So I found a couple of resources that you can use. Some are free, some are a little bit of money, but depending on where you're at in the process and how much you need, it depends on which ones you should go with. So I'm going to start off with some free things you can use, some free tools that you can use to get going. So the very first thing you can do is you can make homemade flashcards. Now, if you have a study buddy or someone that's willing to take the quiz with you or go through the process with you and just kind of help out, then this can be awesome because you can take some of the material from your textbook and you can make flashcards and you can quiz each other. And this could be a much more interactive way to learn the information than just sitting and reading from a textbook and taking notes. The next thing I would do is I would go on YouTube, just like you're doing now. There are so many channels with study exam tips and exam prep, and they have tons of free content on there that you can go through and study day by day. So if you want to see things in video format, if you find that a lot easier to retain, then I would suggest you do that because there is a wealth of information on YouTube, and YouTube can be a great free resource to help you study. The next 2 suggestions are a more premium option. They're still not very expensive, but they will help you pass the exam and they are tried and proven. So the very first one I would recommend is called CompuCram. And what it is basically a test-like simulation tool. It will help you study. It's basically a tool designed specifically to help you pass the exam and get through the studying portion of the exam. And the coolest part about this is when you first sign up for CompuCram, what it will do is it will take you through a quiz and it will break down exactly where your weak points are and what things you need to study harder on. So this is super valuable because one of the biggest things that agents or people that are trying to become agents struggle with is figuring out where they're weak. Like, where should they spend their time studying? What things do they already know where they're gonna, be able to walk in on test day and totally pass? What things are they weak at, and where do they need to spend their time studying so they can become more proficient and give themselves a higher chance of passing the test? And that's one of the best things about CompuCram is you can go in there, take that quiz. It's a complete assessment, and it will tell you exactly where you're at and what your odds of passing the exam are. From there, you can go through their plans and study all the things that you need to study in order to give yourself a super high chance of passing the exam. The next one is Prep Agent. Prep Agent is very similar, and they offer a similar simulator, and what they do is they put you through test-like simulations. They have different quizzes, and it's very helpful. I used it when I passed my real estate exam, and I highly suggest you check it out. And in fact, I believe they still offer this, and what they do is they offer you a money-back guarantee if you don't pass the exam through Prep Agent. So I highly recommend both of these programs. If you want to check them out, there's an affiliate link down in the description below for both. So once you figure out what study tools you want to use, I would lock into them and I would just practice. The more you practice, the better off you're going to be. Obviously within reason. I would give yourself a 2 to 3 week window to do this. I would not spend too much time on it, but I would definitely allocate 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get this done until you're totally comfortable and confident. And that's going to bring us into my next tip. That is mindset to pass the exam. So on test day, you're probably going to be super nervous and you're going to be wondering if you're going to come out of this passing or if you're going to have to go back, study, pay another exam fee, and retake this test. So the first thing I would do is I would get a good meal in and I would get a good workout in because this is going to put you in a good headspace. I personally did this when I took my real estate exam and it helped a lot because this could be one of the days that you're more anxious, and if you go into the testing center full of anxiety, it's going to be really tough to focus and it's going to be a lot harder to pass this exam. Another thing you can do to build your confidence up while you're taking the exam is skipping the things that you don't know and then answering the questions that you do know, and then wait to go back to those questions that you didn't know, and that will build some confidence throughout the exam because you're going to be answering things like, oh, I got this. And then before you know it, you're going to have a lot more confidence and you're going to be warmed up so you can go back to those more tough questions and then give yourself a better chance of getting them right. Number 5 is time management while you're in the testing center. So you have plenty of time to do this. So stressing out and rushing through the exam is probably the worst thing you can do. So keep in mind, you have 2.5 hours to get this done. You don't need to rush. So the very first thing I would do is I would reread each question a couple times before you submit your final answer, because this test is known to be packed with trick questions, and they don't do this to make you fail. They do this because they want to make sure that you're just not memorizing things and you actually know the laws, you know the concepts, and you know the information, so that when they hand you your real estate license, they know you're ready to go out into the field and you're not going to make big mistakes and get yourself in a lot of trouble. So make sure you reread each question a couple times before you submit the final answer. And this is going to help you a lot, because I found myself rereading things and I was like, wow, I thought this was asking one thing, but it's really asking something totally different. And that's where, those study tools can really help, because they word those questions very similarly, so you know what you're getting into. And so when you see those questions that are worded that way, you're already familiar and you already are aware of how the questions are worded. So that's one thing I really liked about using the study tools. But make sure that you reread each question multiple times before you submit your final answer. Last but not least, make sure that you're using a process of elimination technique on things that you just don't know. So some questions you're not going to know the answer to, and it might have been something that you missed, something that you didn't study. And the best thing that I would do during this process, instead of just leaving it blank and getting it automatically wrong, is I would go through a process of elimination technique. And what that looks like is you eliminate all the answers to the question that are totally not right, and you know they're not right. And before you know it, you might be left with 1 or 2 answers. And from there, you can pick the one that best fits the answer that you think is the right answer. And this will give yourself a much higher odds of getting those questions right that you just really didn't study for, you don't know. So using that technique can help increase your odds on those couple questions that may have gotten by you in the study process. But overall, you want to try to avoid this if you can. So making sure you double down and study and really retain as much information as you can is super important. So I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips, and then drop it in the comment section below if you are working on getting your real estate license or if you already took your exam. So drop it in the comment section below if this video helped you take your real estate exam and pass, or if you're getting ready to take your real estate exam, drop that in the comment section below as well. I would love to hear from you. If you like this kind of content for real estate entrepreneurs, smash the like button and subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a great day.